Hello, everybody. Today we are back for, I guess you could say, part two in our WYZE thermostat install. Now, if you look at the previous video I have out there, you'll see we've actually installed one of these already. I have a two-story house with boiler-style heating that only has two wires running to the thermostats. And in that video, I showed you us installing a WYZE thermostat on one of those systems. If you go back and take a look at that, I'll link the video down there, but just to go over it real quickly, the boiler setups that we use, it's a heating only system for this house that these thermostats control, only have two wires going to the thermostat. Those two wires, when they go down to the heating system, don't actually connect to the boiler in any way. They connect to zone valves on my heating system that allow the water to flow through the system, and to a 24-volt transformer. When the relay in this kicks on, it completes the circuit, allows the transformer to provide power to the motor on that zone valve, and opens the valve up so that water can flow. When that valve opens up fully, there's a little paddle that touches a point that makes a contact for a switch called an in switch on these things. That is actually connected to the boiler. It just, once those wires are connected, it tells the boiler it's safe to fire, because these boilers have these circulating pumps in them that push water under fairly high pressure sometimes through the system. And if your valve isn't open for water to flow through, well, it's probably not a good thing. I don't want to find out, that's for sure. So it's a safety mechanism, and a very simple one that's designed into the system. So the bad part about that is these things need power in order to operate at all. And if the two wires coming up to this thing aren't providing power to it, you have to have some way of providing power. So how do you do that? Well, like I showed you in the last video also, we cheat by buying ourselves a 24-volt AC adapter. And this is AC output voltage also that replicates what you would get in a HVAC system. And we're going to be mounting this. It's just an electrical plug with 25 foot of wire, so that I can plug this in anywhere in the room. And I have an outlet just like 3 feet away here next to me in my bedroom. And then I will connect this to the actual WYZE thermostat. On the WYZE thermostat, you're going to see multiple points where you can connect the various wires for your heating or cooling system. And to provide power to this is replacing what people refer to as the C wire or common wire. One of these gets connected to that C connection, and one of these is going to be connected to, there's two R connections, an RH and an RC for heating and cooling. Usually you got your C wire, which is one side of a transformer circuit that's always got electricity provided to it. The RH and the RC are the same kind of thing. The other side of this would connect to that, always have power provided to it. And this is what would provide power to my thermostat to let the thermostat operate. Once we have power to this, then it can control those other two wires that are in here, which I think last time we established one was connected to W and the other one was connected to, I don't know, G or something like that. I can't remember. We'll take a look in just a second. Now, there's two ways you could do this. If you have multiple thermostats in your house, or even if you have a single thermostat, and the wiring that comes up to here has more than two wires, a lot of times, even if I only use two wires here, there's still a 4-wire cable pulled through the walls, because that's kind of a standard 4 and 5 wire. You could, if you've got an outlet downstairs where that wire comes out down in the basement where your heating system is, theoretically you could plug this into an outlet down there and then connect this end to those other wires coming up through the wall. And if you have multiple thermostats then, and you connect this to each of those extra sets of wires, one to this thermostat, for instance, on the second floor, one to your thermostat on the first floor. Potentially you could have one of these that runs all the thermostats in your home, and it's down in the basement out of the way. This is old wiring. One of those wires down in the basement for mine is broken off. I may fish new wire at some point. But it's in an area here where I don't mind. I've got, right next to a door, I've got a little thing here on the wall. It's easy enough for me to just drop it down. I've got right below here, right there is a bedside stand. This is going to plug in right behind it. So it's not in the way. It's pretty easy. And I'll come up behind the wall plate. I may lead it over to here and just kind of like run it down the edge of the wall, the door frame, stuff like that. I don't know. We may get fancy, we may not. For right now, I'm just going to plug it in and make sure it works. But it's really easy to do. And it's a really good solution when you have something like this that you want to use and you have these old style systems. Don't have the wiring to accommodate that. So first thing I've done to get ready is gone down to the basement where my boiler is and turned the power off to the boiler. That also turns the power off to the 24-volt transformer, providing power to this. So you do want to make sure that if they are on separate circuits, you get both of them. Most of the time they're on the same, but not always. This should just pop off the wall. I don't want to... Well, since I'm not going to be using it, I don't mind damaging it so much, but I don't really want to. There it goes. So we got that popped off, and notice it still has, this thing didn't have power that it was pulling through any of this either, so how did it work? Well, this has batteries in it, and it operates off of batteries, actually. And most of those, that's how it is. Unless you got the old mechanical ones that just have the little mercury switch or something in it, then those are mechanically operated. So, if I take a look at this, I'm going to see that there are multiple wires here. There's a RC and an RH that are jumped. There's an RH that's in use, and there's a W. The RC and the RH being jumped really does nothing. It doesn't, since there is no cold, it had no purpose of being there. So all I'm going to do is use the W and the RH wire, and I'm going to ignore the fact that there was an RC wire there completely. So now I've got to get these disconnected and see if I've got room to mount my thermostat. Let me grab a screwdriver because I forgot to grab that, and we'll be right back. All right, before I do much of anything, I'm going to show you guys there's the W that we need to know about. And I can label these as I take, before I take these off, I'm going to open up my kit because there's labels in there. There's the RH that's jumpered over to the RC. Since I've got a heat-only system, I'm going to ignore anything that's jumpered here because it doesn't matter. So if I do this, I just pull that jumper off, pretend it didn't exist, and we will drive on from there. Now I have my two wires, the RH and the W. And I don't necessarily need to label these W white, R red. Pretty easy to remember. In a lot of cases, that's exactly how they're going to be because these are standards. So let me set you down here. And since I already loosened that up, we'll pull that off. We will pull the W off. And take this off the wall. Really fish those through. And there we have it. So, let's get the WYZE thermostat out of the box. Okay, something I found out, guys. The WYZE kit, the first thermostat I got didn't have this, but the second one comes with these little screwdriver thingies included in the kit. That's pretty cool. So if you don't have screwdrivers or anything, you can still do this. It includes something basic for you. That's pretty cool. It also has screws, and in the case of this, this is a plaster wall. These were screwed directly into the wall, and it held. I mean, it's not under a lot of pressure, but there are wall anchors that come with this to properly mount these. So I think I am going to use those in this case. You've got two mounting options. You can either use, I could, if I wanted to cover up all these holes, use the big base there, and this just mounts to that. That's what I did downstairs because there was an area that I pulled the old thermostat off that needed to be repainted. I don't have any paint left of that color. I used it all up, so I've got to get some. In this case, it's painted, so I've got, you know, one hole that lines up down here just right, and I've got to put a new hole there, and I've just got to fill this little hole over here, which is easy enough. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is get the holes ready so that I can mount this first before we do anything else. I do have to look though, because that does give me a question. How do I get this connected? Because this has got to connect to the RC wire there and the C wire there. So how do I run this up under there? That is another question I've got to figure out. So I've got to run it through here somehow. Not sure how I'm going to do that. Now on the back of this plate, these edges here are actually elevated up a little bit. This comes in and curves outward like that, so you've got a little bit of spacing, and you could just cut a tiny little notch with a nail file or something like that so that your wire can run up under that little notch. For this, I may just have to run it up under there like that, and that just means this won't sit 100% flush with the wall. It shouldn't make any difference, so we'll see what I can come up with. But first, let's figure out how to get this thing mounted there and get it mounted properly, and then we can have finish up the rest of the job. Now I'm mounting this plate. I've got my anchors in the wall. This has a level on the top of it. I don't know if you can see the blue up there. See if we can zoom you in. I don't know. No, we can't do that while I'm here. But there's a little blue liquid-filled level up at the top that we can use to make sure this is perfectly level. Okay, so we have this mounted. Let me show you a little bit closer what we did. I had to notch into the wall here. Where'd you go? Here, let me hang on a second. Let me turn you guys around. All right, this is a little bit easier to see. I had to notch into the wall to get this up under there. This lip here, I mean, this section here is pretty thick. And if I look at the thermostat itself on the back, see this section? It's kind of chamfered. It rolls from this edge over toward this edge. It's pretty thick, and that gets flush right in against here. So it would have been a lot of plastic to have to remove. So I just did this. And the same spackling that I used to fill that little hole that you can barely see, I'm just going to go fill this in when we're all done here before I pop this into place. And that's it. There's the little level that I was talking about. So now, really all we've got to do is connect our wires. We'll go ahead and label these. This would go into C. Either one of these could be used. It's AC current, so either one could be used. One of these would go into C. One goes into RC. The W goes into there. And the RH goes into there. And you just push these little tabs on the bottom, and there's holes there or there that you just slide the wire up into, and then when you let go of the tab, it holds them into place. So like for instance, if I want to get the RH, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Get it started in the hole, push down on the tab, and it will let me push it the rest of the way in and let go. Now make sure you don't have too much wire exposed there, especially if like this W and R want to be right next to each other, because then they could lean over and short each other out. So if you've got too much wire, snip it off. Oops, sorry. See, there's a lot of wire exposed right there. So I'm going to snip some of this one off so that not so much is exposed. And we'll get right back. Alrighty, and as you can see here, I got the wiring work done. RC and C for the power, and my original wires were WH, or W1 and RH. Those are connected back up. I think I need to move it over just a little bit. It doesn't look like it's perfectly level. I probably tapped that. So I'll move that over, and we'll pop this. Just pops right on, whoops, I got you zoomed in. This just pops right onto there, onto the base, and that's it. So let me set you down for a second. I'll take care of that, and we'll come right back. And we're back. You'll notice I changed shirts if you're paying attention here. That's because from the time of the last clip until now actually has been a few days. I discovered that the AC adapter that I bought was bad right out of the box, so that kind of threw me for a loop. Plugged this in for my moment of glory when I plugged the AC adapter in and saw this thing fire up, and nothing happened, and checked my wires and everything was good there, and ultimately checked my voltage and there was none. So I ended up having to get a refund on that AC adapter and get a replacement. So we are back the following week, or the next weekend, and we're ready to get this thing fired up. So I've got this mounted. All I've got to do is plug in my AC adapter for power, and we should be in business. So let me plug that in, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully no sparks fly or anything. We have words. Look at that. We have a WYZE thermostat. So let me turn you just a hair here. So at this point, I don't remember on the other one how long it took for it to boot up, but basically we've got to take our phone app at this point, go into WYZE, add a device, and I believe it was under Home, WYZE Thermostat. Oh yeah, there's preparation and setup. We're going to begin the preparation. Actually, the app will take you through the whole thing and show you all the steps that you need to do. So it is really good to go ahead when you're adding this and use the app to follow the entire process. We powered off our system. We removed the cover. We don't have a high voltage system. We don't need to take a picture. We can skip that. We removed all the jumpers. See, it worked. It takes you all through this. Okay. So the terminals that have wires connected, it's asking us about that. So we had our H and C that we added. And we had W1 and RC. Oh wait, we added the RC and the C, and we had RH and W. Almost lost lost my mind there. Okay, we're going to click next. It's still off. Let me grab some different glasses here. Hang on just a sec. Can't see too good. Okay, so my heating is still off. Actually, we can skip this steps because we've already mounted our thermostat, but it'll walk you through all of this. Skip. Allow Bluetooth. Yes, okay. Add. We're going to begin. We're searching for the thermostat. It says keep it near your thermostat, and it's pairing. Yes. Okay, so I'm not going to let you see this part. I got to add it to a network. And you type in your network password. Super secret, you know. It's connecting. Connected, added the thermostat, and it's finishing the setup. So we're going to name this bedroom for now because I'm in my bedroom. Next, turn off your system and fix the incorrect wiring. So see that it says all of this. I can skip try again and skip. Because of the 2-wire setup, I have to do this. I'm going to begin. I've got gas. It is a radiator, not forced air, not indoor radiant. It's a radiator. Almost ready. Begin. I'm going to set this more toward the comfort. And you can take this all the way to comfort is very accurate control, ready before arrival, more tips. And savings is very flexible, blah, blah, blah. So go through this. I'm going to set mine right about there just because I like it comfortable. Next. I set my thermostats. When I'm home, I'm going to go with 70. This is how I usually... When I'm away, because this is a radiant heat, I don't want it to drop down much. I'm just going to drop it down a degree for now. Maybe 2, we'll say. I would just go back to that. I mean, this is just preliminary stuff. I'm just wanting to make sure it works. And when I'm asleep, I actually want it to maintain the temperature as well. So that's just for right now. And I can adjust the times on all of these too. See, I got my home and away times. I'll go back and adjust that when you guys aren't looking. You don't need to see that. Save and next. Okay, wants to save my location, sorry. I'm going to save. It wants to save my location because it uses my phone to determine when I'm home. I can set it so that as I drive home, if I'm coming home early, it turns on automatically. So I'm going to begin the test. And I hear my heater kicking on. And I can actually hear the radiators. Since I have the hot water circulating through the baseboards in my house, I can hear the hot water circulating through here. I can hear it as it goes click, 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 and heats up. So I hear that happening. So I'm just going to say yes and finish. Apparently there's a firmware update, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that and let it do. We'll go back to that later. But it's done. We're done. That's it. It is set up. Sorry, I just got out of the shower. My hair is still wet. But we're good to go. So that's all there is really to setting up one of these WYZE thermostats. Now you can go in afterwards. Like it says it's 65 right now. It's not. It's 70. It's going to have to figure out what the current temperature is in the room. And you may have to go into the app and adjust that a little bit. It is a good idea to keep your old thermostat if you've got one handy so you can compare. I know the one downstairs, because it sits on a wall outside my garage and that wall is always colder, that kind of seeps into the thermostat and it was colder there too. So I had to adjust it a little bit. But this is nice because this gives you the ability to adjust. So you've got absolutely accurate readings. So there we have it. We have our WYZE thermostat installed and working. And it was, except for the fact that I got an AC adapter that was bad out of the box, it was a really easy job. So if I can do this for these 2-wire boiler-only heating systems, you can too. So love my WYZE thermostat downstairs. It's awesome when I can check on it from at work, make sure everything's working good. And now I can do that upstairs too. So talk to you guys later. Hope you got something out of this. I'm not an expert on this, especially I'm not an expert on HVAC systems, but if you have any questions, post them, let me know. I'll try to find the answer for you. We help each other out as much as we can. So talk to you guys later. Okay, so it's been a few hours since I installed this thing, and I've learned something I did not expect to find out. And after reading a few posts in some of the WYZE forums for people that have installed these thermostats with the AC transformer like I'm using, they've seen some of the same issues. Some of the reviews on Amazon for these devices for this thermostat and others also mention this little bit of an issue that I found out I would have never dreamed of. If you notice carefully on the wires for the AC 24 volt AC transformer that I was using, they were stranded wires. When I was pushing them in there, I was just basically twisting the strands to stiffen them up so that it would push into the hole easier. But when I started, setting up my thermostat to the preferences that I wanted, I would notice the temperature would go up and down and up and down. Just crazy. I would sit there and watch it, and it would go from like 69 degrees to 74 degrees and back down within 30 seconds. And I'm like, it is not changing temperature that fast in this house. After playing around with a few things, trying all kinds of stuff, what I found out is if you take a soldering iron and tin the ends where you put into the little holes there for your C and your RC, so that it's a solid core, a solid piece wire instead of a stranded wire going in there, problems went away. So there's some sort of an issue with the stranded wires where it's not making good connection. And I thought it was my thermostat, and I'm like, either my thermostat's bad or something. So since I have 2 of these thermostats in the house, I swapped them. And the problem stayed in the bedroom. So the thermostat that was misbehaving downstairs worked beautifully. So I knew it was not the thermostat. There was something to do with either the power or the wiring. I didn't have another transformer. It was brand new, and it's the exact same model and brand that I'm using on the other thermostat. So I figured that probably wasn't the issue. So I just brought the soldering iron upstairs and tinned those ends. Problems went away. So just a little tip for you guys. If you happen to notice something like that going on and you have stranded wires, that's probably your problem. Not anything I would have ever expected to see. But anyways, hopefully that helped out. See you guys.